My millionaire mother-in-law destroyed my wedding dress with scissors and wine 1 week before the wedding, but I recorded everything and exposed her in front of 200 guests, ruining her reputation forever. I'm 35 years old. I work at a desk now, but I used to be a flight attendant. And I need to tell this story because what I did at my wedding a few months ago still has my in-laws in total crisis, and my own parents not speaking to me. The thing is, I married Lucas, who's 26 years old, and the sole heir to a giant shipping company. I mean, his family has the kind of money I didn't even know existed in real life until I met him. And his mother, Arabella Fairbanks, has hated me from the first second she saw me, literally from the first dinner when he introduced me as his girlfriend like 4 years ago. I met Lucas on a flight to London. He was in first class, obviously, and I was working that day. And I don't know. There was something between us from the beginning. He asked for my number before we landed, and we started dating like a week later. At first, everything was perfect. You know, that stage where you're in love, and everything is rose-colored, and you don't want to see the red flags. But when I met his mother like 3 months into dating, that's when it all started. The woman looked me up and down at the door of her mansion, because yes, she lives in a literal mansion with an east wing and west wing, and the first thing she said was, "How interesting that you bring a service employee home, Lucas." I thought she was joking, but no, she was serious. Lucas turned red and told her I was his girlfriend, not an employee. And she just smiled in that fake way and said, "Oh yes, of course. Forgive me, dear." From that day on, it was a constant nightmare. Every time we went to visit her, she made comments about my job, about my age, because according to her, 9 years difference is scandalous, as if Lucas were a child. About my family who are normal working class. My dad, Peter, is a mechanic, and my mom, Catherine, is a nurse. I mean, honest people who work hard. But to Arabella, that was basically being indigent. She'd say things like, "I'm sure your parents are excited that you're marrying money," or, "It's nice that Lucas helps you financially while you get a real job." And the worst part is she'd say it in front of other people, at family dinners, at social events, wherever. I put up with it because Lucas asked me to be patient, that his mom was like that with everyone, that she'd get over it. After 3 years of being together, Lucas proposed to me in Paris. It was super romantic and all that, but I already knew Arabella was going to have a meltdown. And sure enough, when Lucas told her we'd gotten engaged, she tried to get him to break up with me. She told him I only wanted his money, that I was a gold digger, that the age difference was inappropriate, that what would his country club friends say? Lucas told her he was marrying me with or without her approval, and she changed tactics. She started demanding things. Like, I had to quit my job as a flight attendant because it was embarrassing for the family that the heir's wife was serving drinks on a plane. I was, honestly, already tired of flying all the time, so I accepted and got a desk job at the same airline. But even that seemed insufficient to her. The months before the wedding were horrible. Arabella tried to control every detail. She wanted to approve the dress, the food, the guest list, everything. I tried to keep her out of it as much as possible, but Lucas said we had to include her, because otherwise it would be worse. My own parents didn't help much either, to be honest. They were so impressed with Lucas's family that they basically told me I had to put up with whatever to make the wedding happen. My mom would say things like, "Just smile and nod, Hannah. This is your chance to have a better life. Don't ruin it by being proud." As if I was being proud for not wanting to be treated like garbage. 1 week before the wedding, exactly 7 days before, I brought home my wedding dress. I'd had it custom made by a designer friend of mine, Sienna Lewis, who's incredible with fabrics and details. The dress was perfect. It had taken months to make. It was vintage lace with tiny beads hand-sewn on and a long, elegant train. It had cost me all my savings, but it was worth every penny because I felt like a princess when I tried it on. I hung it in my bedroom in the house I shared with Lucas, in the closet next to my side of the bed, and I stood there looking at it for like 10 minutes, because I couldn't believe that in 1 week I was going to marry the love of my life wearing that dress. That day, Lucas had to go out to a last-minute business meeting and told me he'd be back late. I decided to take a long shower and relax because it had been a stressful week with the final preparations. I left my phone on the nightstand plugged into the charger because the battery was low. What I didn't know is that my phone was in video recording mode. I think I'd left it like that by accident after recording something earlier that day. And what happened next? Well, that changed everything. While I was in the shower, Arabella came into the house. She had a key because Lucas had given her 1 year ago, and we never thought she'd use it to come in like that without warning. I guess she waited until Lucas wasn't there because she knew he had a meeting. She went into my bedroom, opened the closet where my dress was, and proceeded to completely destroy it. I'm not exaggerating when I say destroy it. She made cuts with scissors all over it, ripped off the beads that Sienna had taken so long to sew, threw red wine from a bottle she brought specifically for that on it, and basically turned it into a mass of destroyed and useless fabric. And the whole time she was talking to herself, saying things like, "This woman is not going to marry my son over my dead body. I'm going to ruin this ridiculous marriage." I got out of the shower like 20 minutes later and found my dress thrown on the floor in pieces. I froze. I literally couldn't process what I was seeing. The beads were scattered all over the room. There were red wine stains everywhere, and the lace I loved so much was cut into strips. I sat on the floor and started crying. Like really crying. Those cries where you can't breathe well. I called Lucas hysterically, and he came back home in less than half an hour. When he saw the dress, he turned pale and started calling his mother, but she wasn't answering the phone, obviously. Then I remembered my phone. I grabbed it from the nightstand and saw it had been recording video that whole time. It had almost 40 minutes of recording, and when I checked it, everything was there. Absolutely everything. Arabella coming into the room, taking the scissors out of her bag, cutting the dress while muttering insults about me, throwing the wine on it, and then leaving as if nothing had happened. Lucas watched the video with me and was speechless. He told me he was going to confront his mother immediately, but I told him to wait, that I had a better idea. The thing is, that in that moment something clicked in my brain. I'd been putting up with this woman's insults and contempt for years trying to be kind and patient like everyone asked me to, and she had just destroyed something that meant the world to me 1 week before my wedding. And suddenly I didn't feel sad anymore. I felt furious, like a cold and calculated fury. I told Lucas not to say anything to his mother yet, to go ahead as if nothing had happened. He looked at me like I was crazy. But I explained my plan, and after thinking about it for a moment, he said he supported me in whatever I wanted to do. I called Sienna that same night and told her what had happened, sent her photos of the destroyed dress. She was horrified and told me she was going to do everything possible to fix it, but that she couldn't promise anything because the damage was extensive. I sent her the dress in an Uber that same night, and she worked day and night for almost a week to repair it. She had to replace entire sections of lace, sew new beads, dye parts of the fabric to cover the wine stains. It was a miracle that she managed it, but she did, and the dress turned out even more beautiful than before. Meanwhile, Arabella called me the day after the incident asking how the wedding preparations were going, with that fake sweet voice she used when she wanted to seem innocent. I told her everything was going perfect, that I was very excited, that I couldn't wait for the big day to arrive. I could feel her frustration on the other side of the phone, because obviously she expected me to be in pieces crying, and that maybe I'd even cancel the wedding. Lucas didn't tell her anything either. Just continued with his normal routine, and she was clearly confused that there wasn't any drama. The wedding day arrived, and I was calmer than I'd been in months. Sienna brought me the repaired dress the morning of the event, and it was perfect. You couldn't tell at all that it had been destroyed. I put it on and felt incredible, powerful, ready for what I was going to do. Lucas asked me like 5 times if I was sure about going ahead with the plan, and I told him yes, that I'd never been more sure of something in my life. The ceremony was in a beautiful place, like 200 guests, all the important people from Lucas's family and our friends and family. When I started walking down the aisle with my dad, I could see Arabella's face in the front row. First, she looked confused, then surprised, and finally furious. Because there I was, walking toward her son in an impeccable wedding dress, the same dress she had destroyed 1 week before. I saw her turn red and whisper something urgent to her husband, but she couldn't do anything in the middle of the ceremony without making a scene. The ceremony was perfect. We got married, we kissed, everyone applauded. During the cocktail hour, Arabella tried to approach me, but I was always surrounded by people taking photos and greeting guests. I saw her talk to Lucas at one point, and he just told her they'd talk later, that it was our day and he wasn't going to ruin it. She was visibly upset but tried to maintain her composure in front of the guests. The reception came and everything was spectacular. The food, the music, the atmosphere. After dinner came the speeches. You know, Lucas's father said a few words. My dad said his. Some friends told funny stories. And then Lucas took the microphone and said that I wanted to say a few words too. I stood up, took the microphone, and started my speech thanking everyone for coming, for celebrating with us, for their love and support. Arabella was smiling falsely from her table, probably thinking everything had worked out fine for her despite her plan failing. And then I said, "There's something I want to share with all of you today, something that happened last week that I think is important for you to know." I signaled to the DJ we'd hired, and he projected the video from my phone on the giant screen. We'd set up to show photos of our relationship. There, in front of 200 people, you could see Arabella Fairbanks entering my bedroom and destroying my wedding dress while muttering insults about me. The silence that fell over that hall was unreal. You could hear people breathing. The video lasted like 5 minutes and showed everything. The scissors, the wine, the insults, everything. When it ended, I said, "This is the woman who has tried to destroy my relationship with Lucas for 4 years, and this was her last desperate play to ruin our wedding." Fortunately, my friend Sienna is an incredible designer and was able to repair the dress in time. I wanted everyone to know what kind of person Arabella Fairbanks really is behind her facade of class and elegance. What happened next was chaotic. Arabella got up from her chair screaming that I was a liar, that the video was edited, that this was a coordinated attack to humiliate her. She started walking toward me quickly, and Lucas stepped between us. She started yelling everything at me. Words I'm not even going to repeat here because they're too vulgar. Things about my family, my job, my body, everything. Her husband and some guests had to physically restrain her and get her out of the hall while she kept screaming. It was a scene worthy of a reality show. I'm not going to lie. The reception continued after they took her away, but obviously the atmosphere changed. Some guests were in shock. Others discreetly congratulated me. Others didn't know how to react. My parents came over after the speech, and instead of supporting me, they told me it had been inappropriate, that it was my wedding day and I shouldn't have done that now Lucas's family would never accept me. My mom was literally crying, saying I'd ruined the opportunity of my life for revenge. I couldn't believe that was their reaction. After years of watching me suffer because of Arabella, Lucas, on the other hand, hugged me and told me it had been a right thing to do. He told me he'd heard the things his mother yelled at me when they were taking her out of the hall. Things he'd never heard before so clearly. And that in that moment he decided he was going to cut his mother completely out of his life. He told me he'd been too permissive with her behavior, that he always found excuses for her, but that after seeing the video and hearing her insults, he realized his mother was a genuinely cruel person and that he didn't want her near our future family. The day after the wedding, when we were packing for what we thought was going to be our honeymoon, Arabella showed up at our house. Lucas opened the door and she came in as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't been dragged out of our wedding screaming obscenities. She told Lucas she needed to talk to him alone, that they had to fix this, that obviously I had manipulated him to embarrass her publicly. Lucas told her there was nothing to fix, that she had crossed a line that had no return, and that he didn't want to see her again. Arabella started crying, but it wasn't crying from sadness, but from rage. She told Lucas that if he stayed married to me, she was going to disinherit him, that he wouldn't see a penny of the family money, that she'd erase him from her life completely. Lucas told her he didn't care about the money, that he'd rather have me than all the fortune in the world. She stood there, looking at him as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing, and then looked at me with so much hatred. I felt a chill. She said something like, "You're a manipulative witch who brainwashed my son?" And then she left, slamming the door. In the following weeks, we found out that most of Lucas's family, his uncles, cousins, even some close family friends, had cut contact with Arabella after seeing the video. Apparently, several people already had their suspicions about her behavior but had never seen such clear proof. The video had somehow leaked to social media. It wasn't me. I swear I don't know who did it. And went semi-viral in high society circles. Arabella was completely socially isolated. Her reputation destroyed. She tried to follow through on her threat to disinherit Lucas. She went to her lawyers and changed her will to leave him completely out. Lucas's father tried to mediate, but she was firm in her decision. She told Lucas that if he divorced me in the next 6 months, she'd reconsider her position. But Lucas told her that was never going to happen. The truth is, Lucas has his own money from investments and from his part of the company that his father gave him before all this drama. So, it's not like we were out on the street, but it did mean he was losing a significant inheritance. My parents stayed angry with me for weeks. They said I'd been selfish, that I'd only thought about my revenge without considering the consequences for Lucas. I explained to them 1,000 times that Lucas had agreed to the plan, that it had been his decision to support me. But they insisted that I had influenced him. My mom even told me she hoped Lucas wouldn't regret marrying me when he realized what he'd lost. That hurt more than anything Arabella had ever said to me. Like a month after all this craziness, Lucas told me he wanted to have a small celebration with the people who really mattered to us. He organized a kind of intimate reception at our house with like 30 people, just close friends and family who supported us. It was beautiful and relaxed. No drama, just love and good energy. It was the kind of celebration our real wedding should have been if Arabella hadn't been there poisoning everything. And then Lucas surprised me with a delayed honeymoon. He'd planned a month-long trip through Europe, like going through Italy, France, Spain, Greece, all the places we'd always wanted to visit together. He told me we needed to get away from all the drama and just enjoy being newlyweds. It was perfect. Honestly, it was the happiest month of my life. We disconnected almost completely from social media and phones. It was just the two of us, exploring new cities and eating incredible food. Now, several months later, Arabella still isn't talking to us. I heard through the grapevine that she tried to reconcile with Lucas on his birthday by sending him an expensive gift, but he returned it unopened. Her marriage to Lucas's father is going through problems because he blames her for losing the relationship with his only son. Several of her country club friends avoid her because the video of her destroying my dress and screaming at me at the wedding made her look like an unstable and cruel person. Do I regret what I did? No, not at all. Some would say I went too far, that exposing someone like that on their wedding day is excessive. But that woman made my life impossible for years, tried to sabotage the relationship with the love of my life at every opportunity she had, and finally crossed the line by destroying something as important and personal as my wedding dress. I just showed the truth. I didn't make anything up. I just let people see who she really was behind her mask of a refined and elegant woman. Lucas tells me I'm the strongest person he knows, that he admires that I finally stood up for myself after so long. He says he regrets not being firmer with his mother from the beginning, having asked me to be patient when he should have confronted her himself. But I tell him everything happened as it had to happen, that maybe we needed to get to that extreme point for him to really see what his mother was capable of. My parents eventually calmed down, although they still think I overreacted. My mom still says I should have handled things more privately, but at least she's not yelling at me anymore. I think in the end they realize that Lucas and I are happy together, and that's what matters, even if it takes them longer to accept how we got here. Last week, Lucas and I were talking about starting a family soon. I told him it scared me a little, because it would mean we'd have to decide whether we want his parents to know our children or not. He told me his father would be welcome in our children's lives, but not his mother, not until she showed real and genuine change in her behavior and apologized to me properly. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, honestly, but it's his decision and I respect it. Sometimes, I wonder what it would have been like if I'd simply told Lucas about the dress without making the video public. Maybe things would be less complicated. Maybe Arabella would still be part of our lives in some uncomfortable way. But I also know she probably would have denied everything, would have said I made it up to turn Lucas against her, and maybe he wouldn't have believed me completely without that visual proof. The video didn't just give me revenge. It gave me validation. It showed Lucas and everyone else that I wasn't crazy or exaggerating when I said his mother treated me horribly. Now I'm here, married to the man I love, in a beautiful house, with a life we built together without toxic interference. It was worth every second of drama, every awkward call with my parents, every disapproving look from strangers who think I went too far. Because at the end of the day, I won, you know? Arabella wanted to destroy my wedding, and the only thing she managed to do was destroy her own reputation and relationship with her son. And I married Lucas in my beautiful repaired dress, surrounded by people who really love us. And I exposed an abuser who'd been hiding behind money and social class for years. Some people call me vindictive. Others call me brave. I just call myself someone who finally got tired of being stepped on.